We begin with an update from Mombasa, where 4 people were stabbed to death last night by a group of armed youth in Mlaleo in Kisauni in Mombasa, hours after police raided 2 mosques, killing 1 and arresting 251 youths. Now, according to police, a gang of between 10 and 15 descended on the public at about 7 p.m. and then they started to stab those on sight. One person who survived the attack is in critical condition and undergoing treatment at St. Fatima Hospital. Our senior Coast reporter Ferdinand Omondi now joins us by way of telephone. And Ferdi, I understand that the number of those dead could actually have increased.
Yes, it is right about that. As of now, we have confirmation that there are 3 dead bodies at the Coast General Hospital, Mombasa. And we have 5 who are admitted injuries and 2 are discharged. 2 are still in very bad condition. Now, all those who died had very deep knives and panga cuts. And some of those who have been admitted and discharged, there were those people, as you mentioned earlier, that were making those attacks. And a bit of flashing, especially in the Kisauni area, where tension still remains very high to this moment.
All right, Ferdinand, you're telling us that tension remains high, but what's the security situation like? Are we seeing police on site? What's going on with regard to that?
At the moment, senior police bosses in Kisauni area are meeting to hold.
All right, Ferdinand, it appears that the connection there has been disrupted. We'll try and get back to him with a clearer line. But now to the city centre, where education stakeholders will this afternoon petition the government to reduce secondary school fees. Now, as it stands, fees in national secondary schools ranges between 70,000 to 120,000 Kenya shillings, amounts that lock out a good number of deserving students. Stakeholders, led by the Elimu Yetu Coalition, will today hold a protest march before presenting the petition to Parliament. And our senior reporter, Asha Mwili, now joins us from the city centre live. Asha, they're saying this amount is too much. So what is the proposed figure that they're looking to get?
Yeah, Edith, you're absolutely right. The figure that these activists are quoting, saying that this is what Kenyans should be paying, is actually pegged from the Kilemi Mwiria report. So what the Elimu Yetu Coalition umbrella is doing is that they're marching from Pioneer Place here in the CBD to Parliament buildings, and they want to present a petition to the National Assembly Education Committee. So let me just break down their argument to you, Edith. So they say that national schools currently charge 70,000 to 120,000 shillings. That's secondary national schools. And Kilemi Mwiria and his task force released a report saying that the maximum amount that a Kenyan student should be paying at the national level is 51,000 shillings. Now, Edith, you remember in 2008, the government began a grant paying about 10,000 shillings to every student in public secondary schools. From last year, the Jubilee government has been paying about 12,000 and a few hundreds. What this means is that if the Kilemi Mwiria report is indeed in force, then if you're paying 51,000 shillings, subtract the 12,000 shillings that the government will pay, it means that every parent should be paying around 38,000 shillings in national schools and in district schools. So the Elimu Yetu Coalition simply wants the Ministry of Education to issue a circular to public schools and say that the maximum amount you should be charging is 51,000 shillings to secondary school students. And if not, they want the ministry then to declare the report irrelevant and to explain to Kenyans why the Kilemi Mwiria task force actually used taxpayers' money, yet their report is not implemented. Edith.
All right. Now, Asha, you've given us the details of what exactly they're looking for, but this petition is obviously very critical in achieving this. Do we know how many people have signed this petition and what impact it might have on the government?
Well, it is from their petition that I'm looking at right now. I'm seeing about 1,000 to 2,000 signatures. And what this means is that they just want to show that there's a public outcry about the amount of money charged by national schools. And they do have some strong talking points. When you look at last year's statistics, about 30% of the students that were called to national schools did not show up. So the Elimu Yetu Coalition says that this is because the school fees is too high, especially from students from poor households. So they're saying that at least every Kenyan should be able to afford around 38,000 shillings per term for a student going to national school, and that's why they're saying that this is very critical to every Kenyan, and that Parliament should take this petition very seriously.
Now, Asha, final question. You are saying that it's an umbrella of organizations. Could you just break down for us who these organizations are made of? Are they teachers? Are they parents? Who are they?
Well, the umbrella is Elimu Yote Coalition, and of course it includes a lot of activists that are very passionate about education matters, but they're also including parents, because most of the people that have signed on this petition are parents who have their students in secondary schools, public secondary schools, who really want this figure to go down. And we've been talking about this for a really long time, because we've been observing the transition rate from primary schools to secondary schools, especially after the government introduced the free primary education. And you do know that the transition rate is pretty low. We have about 30 to 40% of primary students who don't make it to secondary schools. So this is one issue that we will be seeing a lot of debate on, and we're hoping that we can get even some parents' view to tell us what they think about the petition and whether this is the right way. And most importantly, it will be very critical to observe how Parliament receives the petition and what they'll do about it afterwards.
All right, thank you very much, Asha Mulu. We're certainly keeping an eye on that story, that petition, which is set to be presented in Parliament this afternoon. So we'll definitely bring you the details of that in our subsequent bulletin. To a story that's been developing, and finally some good news. At least 100 people have been arrested in a police swoop in Kayole, Nairobi, after yet another woman was attacked and forcefully undressed in Mihango. This comes just a day after men and women against gender-based violence held a rather peaceful protest in the capital dubbed My Dress, My Choice. On Saturday, the Deputy President ordered police to arrest those behind the attacks. This is the second lady in Nairobi to be attacked for her dress choice in just 2 weeks. The hope, obviously, is that the arrest will lead to prosecutions. But looking elsewhere, residents of the volatile area of Pokot have been urged to surrender illegal firearms still in the possession of the bandits involved in the death of the 21 police officers at Kapedo. Leaders from both Pokot East and West, led by Tiati MP Asman Kamama, visited the areas where houses were reportedly torched by security agents in the area before holding a meeting with residents who tabled their claims. Speaking on behalf of residents, former Baringo East MP Joseph Lotodo said the operation should not go to the extent of harassing innocent residents. Other leaders present noted that the harassment claims are under investigation before the Independent Policing Oversight Authority. They called on the residents to surrender more firearms, such as bullets, still in the hands of the bandits before the operation is brought to rest.
Ninaomba tu kwa sababu kuna nafasi hiyo, ndio mimi ya security personnel kukuja kuchoma hizi manyumba mahali kama town kama hapa. Hiyo ndio imeleta swali kidogo. Ningesema nataka ile mambo ya communal punishment ipotee. Tunataka individual punishment. Mtu yule amefanya makosa awe na makosa yake.
Baada ya kuangalia kwa rekodi ya serikali, bunduki mbili ni hapo mbeleni, ni mali ya serikali ambayo iko imerudishwa, lakini wakati huu imerudishwa. Kwa hivyo ninasema nini? Nasema tungali tuko na bunduki mbili ambazo ziko kule nje, na lazima tucheze bunduki zote.
The Judicial Service Commission and the Council of Governors have set up a committee to look into the partnerships between the county governments and the judiciary to help set up infrastructure for different courts in the counties. Chief Justice William Mutunga has said there is need to establish a high court in every county to help reduce the backlog that was inherited from the municipal courts.
And by the authority vested in me under Article 262, Sub-Article 22 on the transitional and consequential provisions, I've asked the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary to recall all judicial officers posted to the former city and municipal courts, and in their place post new magistrates who will take stock of the judicial proceedings currently before these courts and to bring them in line with the Constitution.
Now, tenants of an apartment block in Nyeri Estate were lucky to escape alive after an adjoining building collapsed. However, the 5 vehicles parked in the basement were crushed under the weight of the collapsed building. And we'll get more details of this later. However, in a bid to empower women and youth in Nairobi County, over 100 women and youth have today graduated from a short course on professional painting in a ceremony presided over by the Nairobi Governor, Dr. Evans Kidero. The 100 were presented with certificates showing that they had indeed successfully completed the course. Sadlin Paints partnered with the City County of Nairobi to empower these women and the youth by providing them with gainful skills. The graduates are now recognized as professional painters who will help in beautifying Nairobi by painting spaces such as public housing and schools.
Given the fact that there are a lot of youths, young men and young women who really need something to do, they need opportunities opened up for them so that they are able to provide services. We agreed with them that we would be trained, we would give the young men and women opportunities to be trained. And it started a year ago, and this is the second lot of graduates. The first one was 35, today is about 65, and we'll be rolling out on the average between 50 to 60 every month.
Globally, a new generation of pop stars, and some old ones as well, have given a classic song a makeover in the name of charity. They've come together to record a new version of the hit song, Do They Know It's Christmas?, to raise money to fight Ebola in West Africa.
The biggest names in British music showed up in solidarity in the fight against Ebola. One Direction, Ed Sheeran, Coldplay.
I think it's going to a really good cause, and there's some really good celebrities doing it.
I think it's really good because, you know, it's nice to know that they actually care, and it's good to know all these celebrities are joining up to do things together.
Inside, it was down to work.
Hopefully it gets to #1 and, you know, raises a lot of money for a really worthy cause.
As a group, as a movement, we want to make sure that people that, have what they need to fight the next Ebola. That's what this is all really about.
The video was turned around in near record time to emphasize the urgency of the Ebola crisis.
It's Christmas time. There's no need to be afraid. At Christmas time, we let in light and we banish shade.
And in our world of plenty, we can spread a smile of joy.
Do They Know It's Christmas was first recorded 30 years ago for famine relief in Ethiopia. It was the brainchild of Bob Geldof, who's using the same concept now to raise funds to tackle Ebola in West Africa.
They don't have the doctors, nurses, hospitals, state systems that they have in Texas or Madrid. And so, once again, through no fault of their own, this virus is out of control in states where there are no systems because there's no money.
It's a familiar song that's achieved great results in the past. This latest incarnation made relevant for a modern-day crisis and today's generation. Max Foster, CNN London.
The treatment heart attack victims get after they leave the hospital is almost as important as the treatment they get while it's happening. Oftentimes, people who have had cardiac events like a heart attack, a stent put in an artery, or even open heart surgery think that once they're released from the hospital, their worries are over. However, there's more, and it's in this story. Take a look.
Last April, 56-year-old John Hughes got up, got dressed, and went to work. It seemed like any other day, but that day was going to change his life.
These pains just came out of nowhere.
John was having a heart attack.
I started having the pains and hoped they would go away, and then they didn't.
His doctors had put a stent in his heart to clear a blocked artery. The surgery was over, but the hard work was just beginning. John's doctors sent him to cardiac rehabilitation.
So everyone gets designed a program for them. It's no out-of-the-box settings. So we assess them to see where their functional capacity is and where they're going to begin. The studies have shown, regardless whether or not you just had a simple stent and you were going back versus something which seems more significant, a heart attack or open heart surgery, the recommendations really are everyone should undergo cardiac rehabilitation.
Patients are monitored closely and their blood pressure measured to track their progress. The ultimate goal is to have them on an exercise routine that they can safely keep up after surgery.
I absolutely feel better. There's no question about it.
For today's Health Minute, I'm Holly Furfer.
Well, we're just about to take a short commercial break, but when we come back, my colleague Abi Agina will be taking stock of the insurance industry, and he'll be speaking with Caroline Munene, who's the Director, Insurance Institute of Kenya. You don't want to miss that. We'll be right back after this short break.
From the Association of Insurers. Perhaps just to start us off, share with us, we are having the annual Insurance Institute of Kenya conference. What should stakeholders expect, being that it's an annual event and it brings together key players in the insurance industry?
First of all, thank you, Abby, for this chance to just share with you about insurance. The first thing I want to say about the conference is that it's always a chance for us to deal with the current issues in the industry that is affecting the insurance professionals, that is affecting stakeholders, and even to address what you can call expectations of consumers. So it's a conference that brings together what you can call thought leadership and ideas about how we can improve the insurance penetration in the country and how we can serve the consumers better.
Speaking about penetration, Kenya performs pretty not well in the market compared to other established markets like South Africa. The insurance rate in Kenya, penetration rate, is at 3%. What do you make of this?
That is true, Abi. I think the penetration right now is about 3.4%, given the last statistics from the regulator, and which is actually a very poor performance compared to the world over, compared to our neighbors in South Africa, where the penetration is over 10%. And for us in insurance, I think the challenge has been that insurance is not really embraced by the Kenyan people as a necessity. So in the normal planning of Kenyan people, as they think about what is necessary to buy and necessary to have, insurance happens to be at the bottom of the list. People talk about housing, people talk about food, people talk about entertainment, and at the end of it all, then people say, okay, what do we have then for insurance? So it's not a priority in terms of what the consumer really expects from us.
From where you speak from, are we doing enough to ensure that the penetration rate goes up?
Enough is being done, but I think there is still room for improvement. Because more efforts can be geared towards a creation of awareness. The other thing that needs to be done is simplify the insurance products and take them to the grassroots so that people can really understand what is insurance. So we need to do more to communicate, to create awareness, to simplify products so that somebody who is raising cattle in Narok or in Kajiado has a concept of what is insurance, and it is a reality to them that actually they need it in terms of the things that they require as necessities.
If you're to break down the insurance industry, which areas are we seeing an uptick? Is it in the medical insurance? Is it in life insurance? Which areas are leading the pack? And are there areas that need more efforts to be put in place?
Definitely the motor private is leading the pack in terms of demand. And of course, this is because also of the law, because people are required to have motor insurance. So because of that, an awareness already has been created, and acceptance of the product has already been created. So motor insurance has a high demand, as it were, right now. But second to that, of course, is the medical insurance, which is very relevant to a lot of people. Many people have witnessed medical bills. Many people have seen the tragedies that befall families, that befall children. And therefore, the acceptance of medical insurance has actually created a good demand for the product. So that would be second in line to what we are seeing in the insurance sector. But having said that, still the demand falls way short of what can be consumed by the Kenyan people across all the products. So in terms of personal lines products, and these are products that actually insure risks that face individuals, that's a critical part of insurance that people need to know more, understand more, because for individuals, much as you have property, much as you have vehicles, I think the first and fundamental thing you need to take care of is you as a person, and then you can move on to other investments or other properties that you have as an individual. So I would encourage people coming from the Insurance Institute that to really consider what you call personal insurances in terms of a first line uptick of insurance, and then after that you can think about your vehicle, because if your vehicle is repaired and you are in the hospital as a driver, I really don't think there is equity in that. You should have made better choices.
Just taking more a look into how the insurance industry is structured, the common excuse that is given out by majority of Kenyans is that the cost of insurance is pretty high. And are we doing enough to address issues of cost, and also looking at the way the culture, where we see Kenyans say insurance is not a thing I should really worry about, because as much as I insure my things, I really do get to be compensated in good time, especially if you've had a road accident or it's a medical case. There are these perceptions that Kenyans have about generally the insurance industry. What would you say regarding this?
I think I want to accept that insurance is complex, both for the consumer, it's also complex even for the people who sell it. But having said that, if people take time to really understand insurance, they will begin to understand that the price that insurance companies are charging for the products that we have is actually affordable. It is more or less what you spend on your airtime. It is more or less what you spend on a glass of wine in a day. So I think people need to really take a bit more time to understand that what insurances are affordable and accessible to me as an individual. And you'll be surprised that with 2,000 shillings, with 3,000 shillings, you'll be able to get a group personal accident cover for more than 500,000 shillings. Because the whole concept of insurance is to pay a fraction of what you would normally be given back by the insurance company. So if people were to really sit down and reflect on the cost-benefit analysis of insurance, of buying a personal accident insurance at 5,000 shillings, of buying a medical insurance at 20,000 shillings, which is going to cover you for 1 million shillings, then you can see the difference between what you're buying and the value you are getting. So I just think that people should first of all take time to understand insurance and begin to appreciate that there is something for each and everybody in insurance. Yeah, if you're starting low, you can still have a low level product, but you have some level of cover, and so forth, until where you are saying that you would want to have excess covers, $1 million to cover your medical bills, and those covers are still available.
What is the outlook for the insurance sector now that we are seeing renewed efforts to have more Kenyans take up insurance, as you also wind up with your closing thoughts?
I think the outlook is positive. I think because the financial services as a whole actually has embraced insurance. Currently, you can walk into any bank and get insurance, and you can walk into many branches of insurance companies and still get insurance. So it is positive, and I think we'll be able to see bigger and bigger leaps from the insurance people in terms of penetration, in terms of selling our products, and in terms of consumers actually embracing insurance as a necessity in terms of their priorities.
Thank you very much, Caroline.
Thank you, Abia.
Well, we've been speaking to Caroline Munene from the Association of Insurers, who was talking to us just what to expect in the insurance industry and also the upcoming conference.
And this is where we wrap up this edition of KTN Newsdesk. We do thank you for your company. Remember, the website to log on to is www.standardmedia.co.ke, where you can get the stories we've aired this afternoon and many others that will be updated as the day progresses. Now, did you know? Today I'm going to give you two because I'm feeling generous and we have time to do that, and they're completely useless. Did you know that the Rubik's Cube was invented because Erno Rubik wanted to build a structure with pieces that could move independently without falling apart? He had no idea that he was going to create the best-selling toy of all time until he scrambled it and then he tried to fix it. Do you want to know how long it took him to fix his own creation? It took him a month to figure it out. So it's fine if you still haven't figured it out. It's okay. Did you also know, this is just baffling, women only spend about 39 seconds longer in the shower than men But people between the ages of 18 and 24 take showers that are at least 5 minutes longer than people over 25, and this is according to research. I have very many questions, including why would you want to do research on how long people take in the shower? Why does it matter that 18-year-olds spend longer in the shower than 55-year-olds? And why does it matter that women spend 39 seconds more in the shower than men do? Unless you're running a dormitory. I don't understand how this information is valuable. So you're welcome. My name is Edith Kimani. Good afternoon.